Yo, what's going on, everybody?
Hey, what's up?
Welcome back
Hear the game.
to PACE 2019. We are setting up for the Battle for
I can't
Bikini
hear
Bottom
the
100%
game.
run
Can
right now.
anybody hear me?
We'll do a little
am I just
introduction
talking
on the
to a
couch.
wall? No, Okay.
I'm Jared's Giants.
I'm JBHJ.
I'm Ringo. Nice to
Sorry,
meet
we're
you.
just working things right now.
A little
We'll
bit
be
of
ready in
technical
a second.
difficulties.
Yeah, we'll be ready in a second.
I can't hear the game now. Not at all. I'll let you know when I can hear it. I still can't hear it.
All right. Well,
All right.
we can give a little preface this a little bit. You
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
So, what should we even talk about
Well,
first?
so it's going to be a 100% run.
Yeah.
So that means that he's going to be getting 75 of the normal spatulas, but then 25 additional that you wouldn't normally see in any percent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a
I
lot
can
of
hear it
things
faintly,
that
but it's
have,
not. It needs to be
like,
louder.
come to this. Yeah, sorry.
I can
I
hear,
hear
it
him
very
over the-
faintly, but it needs
hear
to
him
be
over the
turned
headset.
up.
I'm kind of like losing my train of thought, but yeah. So basically, 100% has gotten a lot better over the last like 6 months or so because there have been some pretty groundbreaking exploits.
That was the
Yeah, the
And-
main
differences
thing
about
making
the
it
game.
kind of bad is or what was bad before was the fact that you would have to grind for shiny objects for like what was it, like well over 10 minutes probably
Mhm.
It
when
was
the
a give or
category
take.
was newer.
Yeah,
And
it
then we
was
found a
about-
new method, and it kind of brought the time down a little bit, but
Yeah,
it was
went,
still-
it went from about 16 minutes in about it was 16
Like-
minutes in 2017, and then like
it was like
11 minutes
yeah.
in last year.
and now,
now
it's
it's like
3 minutes or something like
Mhm.
that.
And you
Yeah.
can like get other things during the grind too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot better of a category. It's honestly probably in contention for one of the better categories in the game, but
For sure.
Definitely.
100% works very fluently in this because 100% is 100 spatulas. So, it's straight and simple. The amount of spatulas that you see on the screen is going to be the actual percentage of completion that he is. So it's pretty easy to follow along.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely true.
The whole new grinding route saved like 9 or 10 minutes from the whole entire speed run,
Yeah,
and it allowed the whole category to be rerouted.
yeah. It literally changed everything.
It's like one of the biggest time saves, if not the biggest time save ever found in this game.
Probably the second biggest.
Second.
I actually maybe third. There's sponge gliding and cruise boosting, which we'll get
Yeah.
into that.
All right. We're almost ready. We're getting things set up. But
It's almost time.
let's check out the chat. What's going on in chat?
What's up, gamers?
What's up, bros?
Yeah.
Before we start, I just want to give a quick shout out to Josh. He's probably watching somewhere. I just figured I would put that out there before we get started here.
Yeah, he did. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it.
Yeah. What's going on? I think. All right.
It's time.
I think we're ready to get started here. Let's do it. All right, boys. It is BFBB time.
It's a battle for Bikini Bottom. All right, you guys start the timer. Good. Timer.
Timer?
Timer. I'll just go back. It's fine. All right. All right, run's over.
Yeah, pack it up. You gave it a rest.
All right, so when I say go, I'm going to count to 3, and then I say go. And that's your signal. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go.
All right, my boys on the couch, JBHJ, Ringo, and Jared, they're going to give you an introduction. They're going to explain some of the basic stuff about the run. While I get this really awful trick that lets us skip the first boss fight, so you guys can take it away for a little bit.
Yeah, so pretty much starting off here, just simple stuff. Got to get one spatula to exit the pineapple and actually get to the main hub. So just going to grab the first 50 shinies that you can get to. Pretty quick and easy here.
So basically, this game is going to be cracked wide open with a few major exploits that are going to be basically used over and over. The first one he's going to be doing right now, it's going to be he's going to disable the out of bounds mechanic in this game. So basically, how this game works is if you go out of the bounds, you just get taken by that hand that you see right now. But what he's doing right here is if you enter a loading zone while the hand is taking you, the out of bounds mechanic is just completely disabled, and you can basically just go anywhere you want. And we're going to be toggling the hand in and out of the run because there are certain tricks that are only possible with it enabled and certain tricks that are only possible with it, not enabled. So yeah, it's kind of it's an interesting, pretty unique mechanic to this game. So yeah, right here, he's just going to be doing Jellyfish Fields. Going to be getting some of the early socks and spatulas, and then heading back here later with
First try.
the cheats.
Yeah, first try.
Everyone
First
clap.
try. Let's go.
Please clap.
Please.
Please, I need it.
All right, so that spatula he just got there when he drowned, that you would have that spatula is technically out of bounds, but since he was able to disable the hand, the out of bounds detection system, he could get that spatula early.
Exactly.
Yeah, so automatically the hand disable is, proving its worth right off the bat.
So now we're going to be doing the best trick in the game. It's basically going to be skipping this entire first hub world and the first boss, and yeah. So he's just going to be going out of bounds here. Yeah.
Oh.
It's this really tight ledge grab
Yeah.
right here. You'll see in a second.
We might be here for a little bit.
There's no solid
Yeah.
visual cue for this trick, so
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind of
pretty
just
much
a shot in the dark.
It's completely muscle memory based. It's really rough.
Basically, what you have to do is jump under an invisible wall, jump back under behind it, and then grab the ledge behind the invisible wall.
Yeah.
And it also happens to be out of bounds.
Yeah, so you also have to make sure that you're being careful to not get grabbed by the hand, because if you are out of bounds for too long, the hand will actually grab you and it'll re-enable itself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's just this part of the run, it's just like, it's really brutal. It's a really reset heavy area, and it's really early on, so it's a pretty hard grind to get a run started. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like barely clipping the ledge. It's like a very small area where you can grab it.
Yeah, this
It's
trick
a-
is pretty terrible.
Yeah, but it's like you have to do it to get a run started. So
Yeah.
There is an alternative for this trick, but it loses like a minute and a half or a minute 15.
yeah, and you got to use save game strats to do that. and
Yeah,
This file doesn't have a.
it messes everything up.
Yeah, he's not. It's spinning against this wall is kind of weird because there's like a little spot where he drifts down very slightly slower, and lets you like drift into it. All right, that was just yeah. It'll happen eventually.
It will happen.
We'll get it soon.
That's no yeah.
Yeah, this is like probably one of the worst parts of the run.
It's-
Like this is definitely not a highlight.
It's just
There
Yeah,
we
we
go.
go.
There it is. So now he's going to be pretty much nice job.
All right, no more of that. It's I don't even know how that trick is possible. Honestly, it really shouldn't even be possible. But It barely works sometimes.
Yeah.
That's now we're off.
Yeah. So basically, he just surpassed the first ticket booth area, so he's like able to access all these levels that you wouldn't normally be able to without fighting the first boss. And that's going to open up some really fast spatulas. Basically, the objective of the game right now is to try and get 15 spatulas as quickly as possible, so we can get the Bubble Bowl power up, which will allow us to do one of the most game-breaking exploits that you'll see.
Yeah, this game is a 3D platformer, but it has a lot of other adventure game elements like combat, puzzles, boss fights. It's got a lot of unique things that make it a lot different from other platformers. It even has like these bungee segments where you get your underwear stuck on a hook and you just kind of like jump off of ledges and like fish for spatulas and tikis. It's pretty fun. We're coming up to another really big skip here. This one's almost as annoying as the one that I just got past. All right. Well, the first skip that we did here was used to skip the first hub area. Now we got to use this to skip the second hub area, so we can do hub 3 stuff early on to the run.
Right.
Yeah, so if you're paying attention, you'll notice that when he grabs the sponge ball, he's doing double jumps and kind of, spacing out his jumps a little bit. And the reason that is because when SpongeBob lands after a double jump, his crouching animation that happens for just about a split second actually will delay the sponge ball activation, which allows you to kind of jump anywhere and use it anywhere as long as you can reach it. So that's why.
Nice. Yeah, so there it goes.
Good stuff.
Yeah, the beginning of this run is absolutely brutal. It's really just like very finicky, touchy, inconsistent tricks with pretty much no visual cues or audio cues. You just have to really know it by feel.
Yeah, it's very feel-based. So basically, we're kind of playing the game completely out of order now, playing some of the last levels early on because they're really fast spatulas.
Yeah, another thing too is there's no backup for those tricks. You just have to get them. And if you don't get them, you're just stuck there. With any percent runs, there are usually backups, like any percent no SBA, which is the main category in this game. There are a lot of really difficult tricks in that category, but there are backups for them, so it makes it a lot better for marathons.
So
I figured this time it'd be nice to show off all the new stuff that happened since SBA was found.
So basically, this is SpongeBob's Dream, which is a really fast level because it's very open-ended. There's a lot of tricks. It's very exploitable with a lot of damage boosts and stuff. And yeah, it's just like one of the fastest levels in the game.
What's great about this game is it has a couple of worlds where the levels are kind of like hubs in their own. Like this level itself is like a hub for like an individual level.
Exactly. It branches
Much
off
like
into
the actual hub, we can sequence break it just to skip across this gap and grab the spatula. So we're gonna see, like, we're gonna go into Patrick's Dream over there, and it's gonna be its own level. We went into Squidward's Dream earlier, which is also its own level. But the reason why we left there early was because we're gonna come back later with more power-ups and faster movement to collect it like minutes faster than we'd be able to do without it. So this run has a lot of jumping around and backtracking, abusing the game's warp system. So I can just kind of jump around when I unlock a spatula. I can just warp to the place where I was supposed to get it. And you see that exploit a lot, getting a spatula out of order and then using that to warp to the place where we would usually collect the mission.
But right here, we're going to be skipping this entire slide by getting a checkpoint on this acorn here and then just, abusing death.
Yeah, if you jump up in the right spot here, you can hit an invisible checkpoint. So that's what he did right there.
Now we're just going to die.
Normally, if he wanted to actually complete this regularly, it would probably take minutes. So.
Oh, skydiving.
And there it is.
Yeah, you're noticing the spatula count at the top of the screen. So we have 100 spatulas to collect in this game, and any of those spatulas function like blue coins in Super Mario Sunshine, where you have to trade them in for individual spatulas. So trading exchange is 10 socks for one spatula, and there are 80 socks. So what we're going to do is we're going to collect 90 spatulas, right? We're going to collect 90 spatulas, trade in for 8 sock spatulas, and then there are 2 spatulas for the final fight. And then we end up with 100. That'll be later in the run. But yeah, this whole area here, we're doing this to collect these socks that are kind of like way out of the way by this oil rig. So you can watch the spatula counter to have an idea of how far the run has come along. Oh.
All right, that's Dream for now.
For now.
For now.
This run actually has 3 Dream segments and 3 Goo Lagoon segments because we do a lot of backtracking. So in this area, there's a challenge where you have to jump around to annoy Squidward. So you have to jump 10 times and destroy everything in his house for 2 separate challenges. Destroying everything in his house makes the sock spawn. Jumping 10 times makes the spatula spawn. So what we do is we jump over the spatula and hit the final object on the 10th jump, or after the 10th jump. So we can collect the spatula during the cutscene and save a little bit of time that it takes to watch the animation. Also, shout outs to Konosumi.
Signature sock right here.
You're probably wondering why a lot of these taxi pads are going to be entering strangely and just like jumping off to the side a little bit. There are like little mini cutscenes that occur like right here. We can skip this cutscene. It saves like a second or so just to jump behind it and accept the prompt standing on a taxi pad, because the game only gives you the prompt to go into the taxi pad once you're standing on it. So we have to get to a position where we're standing on it, but also in the zone to activate the cutscene. And we can just leave during it.
So SHiFT is going to be coming up to one of the major tricks in this game, the sponge glide. And as some of you have maybe seen before, it's pretty wild. He's going to be hovering midair with his slam and doing a damage boost, as you can see right here. So yeah, it's a very precise angle right here, but you just have to basically do what he does here, and the game just kind of gets you stuck in this position where you're just not gaining any vertical momentum or losing any, but there it is. Nice. So now he's going to be doing another sponge glide here to exit this area of Goo Lagoon and enter hit the trigger, the loading trigger. And that was pretty much a perfect sponge glide.
So we're going to take a little bit of a routing change here. Compared to normal any percent or any percent no SBA, we're going to be going straight to the pier over here. And we're going to do the rest of the pier later during the skee ball abuse trick. Press F for Patrick. Didn't make it out.
Passed away.
Yeah, there's a bit of a debate where somebody talking. There's a bit of a debate whether like the socks in this category enhance it or hurt it, because there are some, like, again, you'll see here, this is the nice ice sock where we're gonna go grab the sock like way out here. There's a bit of a debate whether the socks actually enhance the category or hurt it by adding more like some areas of downtime, but I think a lot of the socks in this category make a lot of cool strats and make it worth watching, in my opinion. There are a few that take a little bit extra time to walk around and get, but those are mainly in the beginning of the game, and toward the end of the game, they just kind of they enhance the game by adding more movement and fluent tricks to the run.
There's a lot of unique strategies that aren't in, like, you wouldn't see anywhere else, just specifically for, you know, a single sock here or there. Pretty interesting. How creative and different, how many options you have to, like, get stuff done in this game.
Yeah, I always say this run's like stuck right in the middle between like the two spectrums of like a Mario run and a Zelda run. Where with the Mario, you got like all the movement, the crazy jumps and tricks and stuff like that, and then with the Zelda runs, you have like the very precise setups and more like more of a method to the very precise tricks that you do. and there's like a huge variety of crazy glitches you can activate. This run's like kind of right in the middle, where the first half of the game plays more like a run that's more like slower paced with crazier tricks to set up, and then the second half of the run is just all movement. So this, you're gonna see, like, after we get 41 spatulas, we're going to be doing some crazy jumps, some huge gaps, clipping through some floors, clipping through some walls. There's a lot to see. Now, uniquely for this category, and also and pretty much any category that runs SBA now, there are 3 different distinct phases of this run, where the end of this boss fight marks the end of the first phase, where we have very limited movement. We can really only do like double jumps, damage boosts, things like that. That's why the Robo Sandy skip is so hard to do at this point in the run, because you have such limited movement tools to get that little tiny ledge grab and to get that little falling stall. So it makes it a lot more difficult to get these earlier tricks. But toward the end of the run, or at least in the middle of the game, we're going to see after this, we have the ability to do SBA. And that's going to be a huge thing for this run. We're going to be able to get some quick spatulas with the infinite currency generation exploit. But after that phase is over, we go straight to cruise boosting, and you'll see that later. Cruise boosting allows for a lot of extra really difficult tricks, a lot of frame perfect tricks, some, like we said earlier, floor clips, wall clips, things like that. So the run just continues to get crazier and crazier as it goes on, and we get towards like some really risky tricks toward the end of the run, where that can even lose like up to 2 minutes if we miss them. The stakes are super high in a 100% run, and you know, even though we got like some boss fights in it, I think that the benefit of showing everything in the game and all the socks and all the crazy movement that there is to show outweighs the small amount of downtime you got to sit through sometimes.
Yeah, so after this boss fight, basically he's going to, like I said earlier, get that bubble bowl, be able to do SBA. And for anyone who doesn't know, SBA stands for skee ball abuse. It's basically, we're just going to, if you played this game as a kid, you know that there's like paywalls to enter certain levels, get certain spatulas with the shiny objects. But we basically just overflow the currency system and get like infinite currency in just such a so fast.
The old clothesline move.
Yeah, so sadly, this is like one of the only really down times in the run itself. Not really much to talk about. Pretty self-explanatory what's going on.
Yeah, he's just abusing the boss, or manipulating the boss to like enter this corner. So there's minimal animations and all that. Just, you know, optimizations for pretty tame boss.
Nice move by Spongebob. This match is just about over.
All right, so
That's
now
time.
we're entering pretty much the second phase of the game. And we're going to just head straight to Goo Lagoon to be able to do SBA. Oh, that was almost sick.
Oh. All right.
Good recovery double.
The setup for this trick takes a bit of a long time to do, but it pays off. It's a
Yeah.
very satisfying trick to land.
Pretty much instant gratification the second you try. Yeah, so he's basically just getting these tikis over to the skee ball area, which is going to allow us to be able to do the trick by throwing a bubble bowl in between the two tikis and just getting it stuck in the like zone where it gives you currency. And it's just going to be doing that over and over and over and over again. Every single frame, we'll get another 10 shinies.
Yeah, so to explain it in detail, He's going to throw one of the tikis into the hole that he's aiming for, and then he's going to switch at the bus stop that you see on the right side right there. He's going to switch to SpongeBob. He's going to throw a bubble bowl in there. It's going to get stuck on top of the tiki, and then he's going to switch back to Patrick and throw another one on top of it, and it's just going to squish the ball in between the two of them and kind of cause it to move back and forth, which is going to cause it to hit the trigger over and over again, and that'll pretty much just stack shiny objects on top of each other.
So right here, he's just lining this tiki up with it has to be like pretty much perfect in that certain spot, otherwise it won't work.
The great thing about it is that when you do this trick, you can collect other spatulas while the grind goes on. So
yeah.
you collect shiny objects in the background, and then you can go throughout the rest of the pier and collect other golden spatulas.
Yeah, this noise is going to be a lot of fun.
10.
You guys want to see how it works?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just every other frame going back and forth.
We're coming over there.
Yeah.
We'll go over and take our picture. Sorry, just had to get a quick picture in there. We got time.
Hey, so yeah. He's going to be doing this until he gets about 40,000.
Yeah, I've got time.
Yeah, I've got time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he does, like JB said, have a few objectives he actually has to go get, but you can multitask now. By the way, this is the sound that's going to play when the nuclear warheads are launched on the U.S., so it's just, little little sign to the future. All right. So now we're just chilling.
Yep. So I'm assuming he's probably going to go a little bit over the amount that he needs, but that's fine.
I don't know. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah, that, so you actually are collecting shinies faster than the timer can, or the counter can even count. So he just got 20,000 right at the end there.
All right, now that I'm back on the mic, we're going to go to Dream 2 now. And the reason why we waited to do this until later is because we didn't have enough shiny objects to pay for this little toll gate we got to get. So it just works out that we can get that now. We have a lot of money.
Yeah, we're pretty comfortable.
Now, the reason why we do this before going for the bouncing ball spatula is because there's a glitch in this game where if you talk to Mr. Krabs, switching to Bikini Bottom straight from a different character that's not SpongeBob, you get this glitch where you can't talk to him and you gotta either hit him with a cruise bubble or walk away. And that loses time, so we're just doing this first. We'll do that later. This is another one of those combat arenas where you have to gauge what kind of spawns you get. Pretty much the only RNG in this game is really just robot spawns and enemy behavior. But even then, the robot behavior is like predictable for the most part. So there is a strategy that goes into these types of combat arenas. I could probably. Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
So if everything goes to plan.
Ah, close.
Yeah, he was going to try to
Almost.
slide into the spatula there, so part of the cutscene played over each other, but doesn't always work. Oh boy. Nice.
Nice. So what he did right there was a damage boost combined with a 1-frame jump to get up here. Just a little bit faster than walking down the plank.
Yeah.
The way the 1-frame jumps work in this game is when you get hit and damaged, SpongeBob does a damage animation, and there's 1 frame between his hurt animation and then his falling animation, where you can get an extra jump in there and get extra height.
Well, how it works is, you're right, there is that 1 frame, but in that 1 frame, you're just detected as grounded. So you can actually do any activity that you could normally do on the ground. So like bash, jump, throw a bubble bowl, anything like that in that 1 frame. And that 1 frame, they really should not have overlooked it because...
Yeah, we just gotta trade a bunch of these shiny objects in for spatulas, but we're good for the rest of the game after this on these Mr. Krabs spatulas. After this, the run just kind of picks up.
Guy just makes like 40 grand in a minute, just stands there, like, nice.
The selfie took a little bit longer than I expected. We were kind of uncoordinated on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a little bit extra money. Oh, first
Ooh.
try.
Wow, there it is. RNG.
Yeah, that TV is also an instance of RNG where you have to hit the TV until you get the correct channel, and then it gives you a sock when you get the right channel. But it's random which channel it splits to. And it's actually only in this category because it's a really, really slow sock. There are a lot of socks like that, though, that are just way too slow.
Yeah, some socks take like way longer than most spatulas.
Yeah, back in the old route before we had the cave clip, you had the Feels Bad Man sock. You had to actually go with Patrick all the way through the cave.
That was like a 3-minute sock.
Yeah.
Yeah, not fun. Glad that's not here anymore. Yeah, just damage boosts galore here, pretty much.
So this whole area is just all about cheesing puzzles that you probably struggled to do when you were 9 years old. This area here is a bunch of flashing tiles. They make you kind of like follow them, but we can cheese it by just jumping across. And the game detects like that you've passed the challenge, so it puts away all the blocks, and you can just kind of walk across and grab the melons. Yeah, you get damaged when you touch the red blocks. This next jump over here, or this next throw, it's intended for you to have to dodge the cannonballs, but none of them actually reach this point on the side, so you can just kind of walk to the side and just throw it.
Senile old man in a cave.
Yeah, the Mermaid Man voice actor in this game is something else.
Yeah, non-authentic voice actor, along with him and Krabs. But I'm pretty sure every other character got the main voice actor for this game, if I'm not mistaken.
So this puzzle right here, pretty much all you have to do is press 1 button each time, and that solves the entire puzzle. And kind of recently, it was found out that instead of throwing the melon, just belly flopping every single button is like a second faster, or a second and a half faster.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty silly looking.
Yeah.
Just
There's
Yes.
another big sequence break coming up. We're going to skip the entire mermaid layer and then backtrack to get everything else. Okay, let's not do that.
So he's building up speed on this slide, and then he's just going to be jumping off, hitting this invisible trigger to enter this boss zone that you're not supposed to be able to. And now we're just leaving. Coming back later.
Yeah, we'll come back here later.
Yeah, a lot of this run for 100% is setting things up to come back later. This is why like the beginning of the run is more like slow paced and more about like skipping stuff, and then the end of the run we just kind of abuse cruise boosting to come back and collect everything. So once the 40 spatula mark hits, it gets pretty wild. All right, I can't really see what I'm doing. There's a bit of a glare on the TV. It might be better. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just going to be grabbing this invisible ledge right here.
That's better. Okay. See ya, Dave.
Another quick shout out to Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Just gonna put that out there.
No.
He's here.
Here in our hearts.
Real.
Yeah.
All right. This is another one of those socks, just like, you just kind of go over and get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to actually get this with cruise boosting, but the reason why we walk over to get it now is because it's actually faster to get a sock from Goo Lagoon Pier earlier and then get that sock later. Because we still need to have 10 socks before the Krusty Krab to have 40 for Industrial Park. So if you walk out of range for SBA, it just stops working. And there's a sock out of range that we used to collect during SBA, so now we just collect it later to keep SBA running, and it saves a few seconds. Yeah, this game has a lot of complex routing choices based on like what your abilities are at whatever time you're doing a trick. Like what spatulas you have, what socks you have. So now we're going to set up Sand Mountain to get ready for later. Again, we're also collecting spatulas to allow us to get into the industrial park with 41. We'll enter with 41, we'll exit. We'll enter with 40, but we'll exit with 41. But another benefit of doing this now is collecting all these warps that we can abuse later. So toward the end of the run, we're just going to be flying around.
So, yeah, here, this is like, you know, in any other category, this is where you can get some shinies, but pretty much irrelevant in this category because we have all you could ever want.
Oh. So that bowling shot just destroyed the duplicator from across the room and just lets us hit that button without having to wait for the explosion. So now we're coming up to the 40 spatula mark. We're going to get this from Mr. Puff and Again, now we have this warp unlocked, so we can come back later and return to the lodge.
And after Industrial Park, these spatulas just become so fast. Like with cruise boosting, the pacing just gets insane.
Yeah, it's worthy to note that like you get out of Industrial Park usually around like the 35-minute mark, something like that, with 41 spatulas, and then you have like under 50 minutes left of gameplay after that, and you collect 59 more spatulas in that 50-minute time slot. So it's just rapid after you get the cruise boosting ability. Now this is one of those more complex socks you got to get in this run for 100%. You have to destroy everything in the Krusty Krab, and it can be a little bit strategic depending on what spawns you get on the bottom floor. But everything on the top floor is kind of like staple. Now it's once you get down here, you got to kind of read where these guys are going.
I feel like I should be working.
And there it is.
So after getting this crab spatula, again, you can't see him because Mr. Krabs is rendered in like right like on the outside of this wall over here. You can actually see him if you look over there. This is why he's invisible over there. So we're gonna enter Industrial Park from the opposite side of the gate, which is, you know, I always say
cute.
like this frame is a good example. If you show somebody like, hey, have you ever seen a speedrun of this game before? And you just show them that frame, it's like, all right, what's going on? Why is he on that side of the wall?
Yeah.
Great Barrier Reef!
Yeah, so a lot of this boss is predicting where he's going to go, trying your best to like set up where he could go, and then just reacting to the few certain outcomes, because it's just like any little minute detail of where you're positioned will affect where he lands.
People always ask why I'm jumping in the goo. They always ask two things, actually. Why I jump in the goo and why it's not damaging me. So even though he's saying ow, the jumping in goo in this game doesn't actually hurt you or take your health away. It's just when you get hurt by enemies that happens. So I just kind of, like when we're waiting for this phase to go through, I just kind of jump in here and practice one-frame jumps. If that's been explained already.
Yeah.
There's one frame between SpongeBob's falling and hurting animation where you can press the A button. And this game runs in 60 FPS, so it's 1/60th of a second precision trick. And if you miss the jump, then you just, in most cases, like in other categories where it's more crucial, like no SBA, you just fall and you die, you tank for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it is. That 100% is mostly a consistent run for marathons after the first couple of tricks you saw in this run. But it doesn't have a lot of those one-frame jumps like no SBA is infamous for having. That's why, you know, people have branched out to other categories and tried different types of runs to this game, because when you get to top level in that category, it's all just doing those crazy one-frame jumps nonstop. And there are pretty much no backups for them. You just kind of have to, you know, deal with the time loss or just reset if you fall. This category is a lot more movement-based, where toward the end of the run, it's the more the focus is on getting the socks and stuff. There are a lot of really precise movements, especially in Jellyfish Fields, which is coming up after downtown. So we got one more phase of this guy. And each time I hit him, the goo is going to rise. So that means there's less surface area to jump on to hit his back. And the way I usually think of this area is divided into two parts. You have the frontmost area, which is the first half, and the back area, second half where you can land. It's always going to go back to the lever to pull it to bring the goo down. So what you want here is for him to land in the back after spinning for 10 seconds. But you have to kind of read him to be able to get your kick like right there. So you see how he turned around right there and did a little bit of a spin? That's not what you want. Usually you want him to land in the back, so he's already facing the lever. He always turns to face you. That's just like more the nuanced stuff for that phase. I think it's the most interesting out of the three phases, but the third phase is usually the one that costs people the most time. I'm going to stand in this corner over there to manipulate him to turn and hopefully land on the right side of the stage, or possibly in the corner over here, which looks like he's going right here. Nice.
Yeah, so basically, like according to where he is positioned, there's different places that you can stand at to get the correct manipulations. You always want to try and get him on that that front side that you spawn at because there's no conveyor belts and it's just like the closest, you know, most convenient. If he lands, he can land on like the far other side, and it loses a substantial amount of time.
Just kind of like that, but more so in that corner. The farther back he goes, the more time you're going to lose because you're always going to bank on him landing kind of up front.
Yeah, that wasn't actually too bad. He only lost a couple
Yeah.
seconds there, but it can get bad, especially if you like don't know really how to react, and if you just like, you know, if you expect him to land in the front and he lands in the far back, that's quite the hike. It can get up to like 15, 20 seconds in worst case scenarios.
It looks like SpongeBob has an
The manipulation is obviously not the most consistent thing in the world, but it does make predicting his landing spot a lot easier.
All right, now the fun begins.
Yeah, so now we have cruise boosting. So, yeah, we're just gonna come back to all those places we got the warps for now and just blow through the game, basically.
All right, so you're already starting to see some weird happenings. All right, so we just did two things there that got to be explained. So the first thing it did was the warp through the door was a bowl boost, and a bowl boost pretty much just transfers your bowling speed. So however fast you're moving on the previous frame. So in the Pineapple, unlike the other levels, there's no loading zone between the rooms. There's actually just like you're being teleported to another little cube room in the same level. So the speed that's required to send you there in one frame is, you know, obviously, you can imagine it's pretty fast. So what you're doing is you're pressing the R button and the B button on the same frame to bowl and enter the door on the same frame. And that just puts you through the door with a bowl boost, kind of shoots you forward.
Cruise boosting is done in a really similar manner too, where instead of pressing R and B, it's just L and B. So you're using those two power-ups that you got with the bosses, and if you use them on the same frame, it captures your movement speed, and you are just in a perpetual state of moving forward, whether you touch your controller stick or not. So as you can see right here, he throws these torpedoes at the wall, and his movement speed is just like probably over doubled. And that just allows, like, it just opens up so many jumps that you couldn't have made before. And additionally, all the power-ups that you can do, like your bash, your slam, that were initially stationary, you can now use as like extra jumps, and you know, it opens up so many different options.
I think debatably the most important part of cruise boosting is being able to use stationary moves while you're in motion.
I would agree with that, actually.
I think that opens up a ton of kind of movement options that you aren't going to have
Without
if you don't
it.
have a cruise boost.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crucial, and it obviously impacts the run very heavily. We base late game very heavily off of cruise boosting.
So in this area, we're going to attempt to hit every tiki that's floating outside of the sea needle. And missing one of these things puts you completely off cycle, so it's crucial to hit all of them perfectly first try.
Yeah.
There are also other like explosive thunder tikis that if you hit them, it messes you up, like kind of forces you to go all the way back up the bungee cord. Yeah, jump again. Okay.
It's going to be close, but he might actually be able to make this cycle still.
All right, I guess we're not going to do that. Yeah, I probably could have recovered that, but it was, I was being attacked.
Yeah, you're just going to kind of have to make something up on the spot here. Do a couple of Dave dives to get this one back on track.
Yeah, pretty much. If you mess one of those tikis up, it just feels bad for the rest of the whole Sea Needle segment. What I was trying to do there was use a cruise boost to speed myself up to the cycle, but you know, I got hit by the guy, so I couldn't. All right, so now we're going to Jellyfish Fields. This area has a lot of really difficult tricks, so hopefully it goes smoothly.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a lot of
7
movement here.
spatulas and 13 socks, and they're all just like crazy long strains of movement. It's honestly probably my favorite level in 100% because there's just so
Nice.
much stuff. Also nice. That's a really tough jump. As you can see though, he's using the bash now a ton and moving forward where normally you would just go straight up and be locked.
And like you saw right there, that slam gave him the extra distance to reach that flower trampoline. So it's just little things like that that are going to kind of make a huge difference in the kind of movement that you can perform in late game. That's why we save a lot of stuff for late game too.
It's also important to note right now that the out of bounds detection that we disabled in the beginning of the game is actually back right now.
Yeah, that will serve purpose later in the run.
Mostly for a trick called
We
bubble boom.
re-enabled it during downtown, during that Tiki segment to skip a cutscene. But it also doubles as a mechanic for rock bottom that we're going to use to skip a really long cutscene. It's in the Trench of Advanced Darkness.
I should do it again sometime.
Yeah, it's interesting with this game because every little unique, or it feels like almost every little unique niche thing that feels useless, like even if it doesn't have a use right away, like there have been plenty of examples where we've come back with stuff and just been like, oh wow, this is actually totally useful. Like re-enabling the hand, you know, you'd never really think to, like, yeah, you would never think that would be like something that would actually be helpful.
We explain the difference between regular cruise boosts and RCBs.
Well, basically, they're pretty much the same thing, except the RCB, it's about half the animation because you are canceling by doing it at an angle, doing it at a different angle where it basically just cancels you out of the second, like, torpedo animation. So it's about a second faster to do an RCB than a normal cruise boost in some areas. Yeah, but more or less the same trick, just two different styles,
Yeah.
two different variations.
Shout out to Ringo Tongo on the couch for finding that one.
So right here, he's going to be cruise boosting against this wall so we can get this cutscene and just drown in this lake, get on the other fence. The old way, I'm so glad that this is found now because
Yeah.
the old way is actually just walking through as Patrick.
A good thing to mention right there, the way that he got out of bounds was through a tactic called L clipping.
Right, and
And-
L clipping is used a lot in the run. Prawn skip is a great example where you can basically just mash L and the game will allow you to clip through some certain walls. But there are even more ways to clip through this game, or clip through walls in this game. And yeah, they all have their own unique uses.
Good job. Yeah, rock skip is a little platforming trick right there. Can be a little difficult, but
You gotta note that like you're constantly being pushed forward with cruise boosting. So when I'm actually standing still on that rock, I'm pulling back like and wiggling the control stick to keep
Yeah,
myself stationary.
the way it works in this game, to keep yourself still while you have a cruise boost, you actually have to wiggle back and forth because if you hold back in one straight direction, SpongeBob will start to strafe that way.
So this is a lag clip.
Yeah.
Basically,
Oh.
you just have to mash pause, and wow, I mean, he got it right there. That was the hardest lag clip in the game.
Let's
So round of
go.
applause.
Good stuff.
That's the thing about marathon runs. You win some, you lose some.
Exactly.
And this is a pretty good Jellyfish Field so far.
Yeah. That's so big.
That is by far probably the most tedious lag clip in the whole game. And
Yeah.
lag clipping is a concept that was actually just recently discovered. Pretty much how that works is by mashing the start and select button. The start button will actually open up the menu and the select button will be used to close it. So when you mash those fast, it actually lags the game because of the screen flashing so quickly. And then that plus other added, you know, images and scenes and stuff around the map will cause SpongeBob to just lag downwards due to cruise boosts actually causing SpongeBob to have downwards momentum when he falls. So you'll see that anytime he goes to do a lag clip, he's going to pretty much jump off of a ledge or bash off of a ledge and move downwards. And so when he's standing on the ground after falling, he's actually still getting pushed into the ground, but he's not actually clipping through. So that's what the lag clip itself is actually utilized for, is to actually push him through. It's a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah, a big misconception about lag clipping is 'cause people are used to runs with like pause buffering and stuff. There is no pause buffering in this game. We're just solely mashing the pause button just to create lag. I'm not like selecting a specific frame or anything. This game has a lot of frame perfect inputs, but there's no way to buffer them. You just got to know the frame by heart. We're coming up to the hardest boss in the game. Shout outs to Jelly Swagger.
Yeah, shout outs
for
to Jelly
dying on
Swagger.
this.
Passing away on this boss. This is too bad.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone.
No longer with us.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the first level boss. Yeah.
That's just another boss fight cheese strat where we come back with the cruise level, which is, this is supposed to be one of the earliest bosses in the game. It's like a tutorial level boss. And you come back with the cruise level just to hit him with the power up you shouldn't have at this point.
You just own him, basically, and it's over in like 10 seconds.
It's funny how speed strats turn this basic tutorial level into one of the hardest levels in the game, at least for 100%. And speaking of which, we got some pretty cool strats coming up. Barrel bounce, always a fan favorite. This first part is not too crucial whether I miss a cruise boost or not, but this second part I need to get the cruise boost first try in the second spot. I should note also that I'm not sure if it's been mentioned yet, but doing 2 cruise boosts, like the 2 blasts, is actually how many you need to get the cruise boost. You can't, if you do 3, that's when you start having to like redo it. It's like, okay, I might actually not make this cycle now, but we're at pace, so we're gonna go for it anyway.
Yeah, all these socks, there's just so many in this first level.
Yeah, so what he's going to do right here, hit that button. When he hits the goo during a cutscene.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how that would originally work is when he hits the goo during a cutscene, he actually doesn't drown, just because, you know, the game isn't in its usual state. So SpongeBob doesn't take damage. It won't get rid of the cruise boost, and it would normally just allow him to bounce right onto the barrel.
I'm just gonna do it the normal way. Yeah, I mean, the button press was fine. It was a good button press, but the thing is that if you miss that cruise boost and over by Squidward, the whole area here runs on a global cycle. So if you miss a cruise boost, then you're just off cycle, and the barrel's in the wrong position.
Yeah, because they'll tilt back and forth, so you have to have it tilted towards you for that to work, but no problem.
Sponge wearing 5 pairs of underwear.
Now this is one of the best levels. Rock bottom, brutal for sure, but it's just one of the levels that you can probably get the most out of cruise boosting. I'd say this and Flying Dutchman's Graveyard are probably the levels that are the most affected by cruise boosting.
Yeah. So originally in NSBA, there is a lag clip that you can utilize right there. There's a shiny object below the level, right near Mrs. Puff, that actually triggers the paintings that we're going to have to collect. That's kind of the collector item thing that you have to get in order to get a spatula from it in this level. So if you actually grab that shiny object below the map using a lag clip, it'll just trigger Mrs. Puff to give you the spatula. For some reason, they put that as the trigger. So I really don't know why, but it just works that way. But because it's 100%, it technically wouldn't count as 100% completion if he didn't get all the paintings. So that's the reason we're gonna avoid that one. Yeah, I feel like when I think of cruise boosting, I kind of think of Rock Bottom as like the cruise boost central of the run.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Museum is probably like the quintessential cruise boost level, I'd say. It's got probably the most advanced movement, and we're coming right up to it. So, yeah, it'll be fun.
And just the high ledges and the different gaps that you have to cross that you wouldn't be able to unless you had cruise boosting.
Yeah.
It's just kind of proves. Like Rock Bottom is
It
kind of
literally
a-
looks like a completely different level without
Yeah.
cruise boosting, and it's weak, but
This
like
whole left side of the level too, just we don't even go to in the speed run. We're coming up to this this one frame grab here with this spatula.
Oh, we got
Oh,
I just got.
nice.
Oh wow,
Oh.
that
Yeah.
is.
that's a lot of fun, but he's got the camera.
Yeah, so what he's going to do is just bash up there
I'm
and
not
get
sure
the
if I can
box.
go for this now because that just happened, but I'll try it.
Yeah, you might be able to. Did he get
Wait,
it? Ooh. That
52.
That might be it.
Hey!
Let's go.
Wow, even off the getting thrown to the right side. So there was a lot that just happened there. So I just got camera locked, and it's pretty unpredictable whether that happens or not. It's when the camera in this game back in the day, these old early 2000s platformers had the cameras separate from the actual characters. So what happened there? Sorry, it's kind of hard to explain while I'm trying to do frame perfect tricks. There's yeah, so what happened there is my camera got stuck and it kind of threw me off a little bit. I gave a little bit of analog input, so the SHiFTs disappeared. But despite the game trying to ruin my setup, we ended up making it work. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and normally in the museum, it's like a really long, intricate. You're trying to disable all the lasers, but with cruise boosting and ledge grabs, you can basically just like surpass all the walls, get all the objectives in such a fast amount of time. There you go.
Hey, even though cruise boosting is a different type of frame perfect, where you're not like pressing it on only one frame that works, like what I just did there is I'm pressing two buttons. I'm pressing the L trigger and the B button on the same frame, and I'm doing that twice with a very precise angle between, depending on which surface I'm doing it on. And this run definitely has at least 50 cruise boost spots. You have to memorize the angles to do optimally. But it's a different type of frame perfect than the spatula grab that I just did and the jump that I did off the block earlier. They're all different. Frame perfect is not a measurement of difficulty. It's a measurement of precision.
3 years running.
I always say that.
Yeah, damage boosts. I mean, they're still relevant throughout the entire game, as you can just see. Even though they're mostly utilized in the earlier levels, you still see them busted out post Industrial Park anyways.
All right, so since lasers is kind of a spread out level, I want to take a quick second. Can we get a round of applause? Because we're over 10,000 live viewers right now in the Speedrun channel on Twitch.
Yeah, that's actually
So
amazing.
I think we should get a round of applause for that.
Sorry, my audio for for you guys. Did you guys say 10,000?
Yeah.
10,000, yeah, 10.5K right now.
And this game,
It's
I
not
thought
good.
it's not a Mario game. I didn't think it'd get viewers. Interesting.
It's a child's game, actually.
Baby game.
Bab.
Baba game.
It's not
Baby
doesn't have the
Baba.
Nintendo brand. We're still
I'm-
doing all right.
All right, so as you can see, since we have the hand enabled again, that entire cutscene is just gone. And now we're doing the best sock. This is pretty much the sock that's just, you know, so out of the way.
So my opinion on this sock is a little bit mixed. I'm actually not sure why it's over there. We still haven't really figured this one out totally because 100% is a pretty unoptimized category right now, especially after the SBA revolution. It's just the whole thing got redone and we're just trying to get our footing and figuring things out. But in the past month, I've been playing this category, trying to prepare for this marathon. I've come to actually appreciate the trench in 100% as opposed to trench in other categories where it's done. Because the sock, even though it's kind of a nuisance to walk over and get it, it actually adds more stakes to the movement and the lasers because you have to play quickly to get the right cycle. Whereas without that sock, there is no cycle to make. So it's polarizing, but you know, you can always find something to appreciate in a bad situation, which is pretty much what SBA is anyway. I mean, when this trick was found in October, we thought the game was going to die, but we found a way to reorganize the boards so everybody was happy. Everybody could play the categories they wanted to play, and it made some categories better. And for those that, like any percent, which it made a little bit, you know, more annoying to play, we just made a separate category for people to play that one. You gotta always look at the positives.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to play this game depending on how, what tricks you want to do, how long you want your run to be even, well, that's with all categories, but, yeah.
Oh. That was, yikes. All right, it's fine.
So this is a cycle-based spatula that is really movement intensive. It's very fun. It's very fun to do.
Yeah. Another good example right here of cruise boosting movement.
Yeah.
This is
I'd say Museum and Kids and probably Dutchman Skip are like top 3. Or maybe Squid's Dream even.
yeah, Squid's Dream is another one too. There's a lot of crazy areas. I think Kelp Caves is another good one too.
Oh,
All
yeah,
the climbing that we
that's
do in Kelp Caves.
There's a lot of L clipping in that segment too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like half of that segment is totally out of bounds.
You guys ever just whack a tiki?
Just whack a tiki.
You guys ever just whack a tiki?
With the whack.
Whack-a-tiki. We
We're
had
gonna
to
go
take a
under
pit
this
stop for the
little
mini
carnival
games.
mini game here.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of this.
Yeah, I heard that this is actually the
Nice. There's a little bit of a cycle there we got to wait for. The tiki's bob up and down, and you got to kind of like run in sync with the cycle to make it work. So you got to be like, it's a little bit of a rhythm you got to do. Yeah, that trick is really easy to miss. Now, oh, okay, it got me. I got you baited. The thing, the goo level rises up and down, and I didn't realize it was going to rise up on me there. There we go. So shout outs to the one frame cruise bubble there. If you use the cruise bubble on the first frame that you spawn, SpongeBob's arms don't catch up with this model yet because they're separate, detached. So he just kind of like a little sponge with legs, and he just shoots the bubble. Completely useless, by the way, but yeah, it's one of those things. Every game's got its little like funny thing it has.
little
Talk
quirks.
about. South door skip. Nice. So you might be wondering why we just left downtown earlier, high and dry, just to go do Jellyfish Fields and Rock Bottom. And that's because if you notice during Tiki's Go Boom, the little part where we were jumping on top of the pillars here, we had to disable the hand. We had to re-enable the hand that brings you back into the map when you go out of bounds, which we disabled in the beginning of the run. So up until that point, we were doing the run with no out of bounds detection. But right now, out of bounds detection is back, and we needed that. If you saw in Rock Bottom, we fell off that cliff toward the end of the lasers and respawned by plankton. We were using that to skip a really long cutscene. But now that we've gotten past that cutscene, and we have to get further, we got to finish the rest of the run. We have to re-disable it now, and we're gonna do that on downtown rooftops. There's a little one-frame R trigger activation under the lighthouse where we can fall into the death zone.
And disable the hand yet again.
Enter the lighthouse in the same frame as the hand comes back on the screen. So the basic property, if you notice in the beginning of the run, the first thing we did is we went on the taxi pad to bring the hand out, and the bubbles came up and the loading screen paused the game with the hand on the screen. So as long as the hand is on the screen, the hand gets disabled in the next level. And it stays that way until we re-enable it. As you're going to see here, we're going to use the hand for this little grab here. I'm going to respawn on that checkpoint that I just got. So again, that normally wouldn't be there, but we're going to disable it again by the lighthouse. And again, it's necessary to do this because there are tricks later that are out of bounds that we need to do. But yeah, it's important to note that jumping on top of the roofs like that is also out of bounds. It's just not what the game detects as out of bounds.
All right, we're gonna go for the bubble ball boost here. So,
All right.
All right,
It's a
so
little bit
basically
too
what he's trying to do here is the second he's able to control his character again, he's going to try and bubble bowl. Yep.
So there's one frame where you respawn, you can press the B button to do a little bit of a jump. It's a bit of a warp. the technical explanation for that, why that works. Let me just get this other one frame before I talk about that. Got
Nice.
it.
Nice.
All right, we got it. All right, we doing lighthouse clip, boys? Let's go for it.
Oh, we're doing like.
But let's talk about bubble bowl boosting. So bowl boosting is also used in the pineapple, as you may have noticed, the little warp into the closet that I did earlier, the library warp. Same principle, where you're traveling the distance that you go from your starting point to your end point stacked onto your bowling speed. And doing this off of a respawn from the hand checkpoint thing takes you for it. There's a little split second that you can't see where the game puts you at the beginning of the map, and then it teleports you to the checkpoint immediately after. All right, I have to wait for them to come over here. This might not work. Yeah, it was worth a try, but yeah. That clip is very, very finicky and inconsistent. But it would have been cool if it worked. Not totally figured out yet. It only saves 3 seconds in this category, so it's more of like a fun thing to do because you're at pace. But as I was saying about bowl boosting, if you had time to kind of synthesize what I was talking about there, you stack all the speed from the origin of the map, and you transfer it to the checkpoint. So you're going all the way from the beginning, say here would be the origin of this map, all the way over to say if I respawned over here for Tiki's Go Boom, if I respawn over here, then I'd be pressing B on the first frame I come back, and that would cause me to stack all the speed that it took to get from here to here in one frame, and I just launch forward. So that's the reason why that's one of the areas where it's actually useful, because it's facing an objective that we need to get, and it's also RTA viable because it's not one of those things you have to stop yourself and react to under a frame of movement. It's just really, really fast paced. So the ones where you can kind of commit it to muscle memory are much more valuable than the other ones. There are a couple of spots in this area in this run where you can do it, but that one's definitely the most marathon safe.
Also, good job on that taxi pad, Skip. That's a tight window to hit that one there. So.
Oh yeah. So Kelp, one of the weaker levels for the longest time, but it's pretty much gotten better in every category. But I think most people can agree that the Kelp is at its best at 100%, and there's a lot of good spatulas and then cool socks and movement that's just completely missed out on in any percent, no SBA, stuff like that, and you just get to see it all here in one hundo.
We do a little bit of a death warp here to get the sock. You might have noticed there are a lot of socks that are intended to be gotten as Patrick by freezing the goo that we just completely avoid doing with cruise boosting. Because again, you have twice your movement speed. You can just jump across all these gaps. Now, I actually love this part of the run. The kelp vines, kelp caves, kelp swamps area. There are a lot of really cool tricks in here. So I don't know. Hopefully, I get KVLC, which is something I found pretty recently. It's an L control. Now, L control is a really funny strat that was found where you can, again, when you collect these spatulas, you can't usually control yourself while you're collecting them, but if you press L on the frame you touch it.
You can, just for no reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, so
hey, we still got it.
It's not that big of a deal because, yeah, we still got it. It saves a few seconds if you get it. There are a lot of tricks like that that only save a few seconds, but not that big of a punishment for falling off like that. As long as you fall off with the text box from Mermaid Man, you can come back. Yeah, that's awesome getting that in a marathon. Jeez. It's theorized here that there might be some reverse slide jumps you can do off of a really huge gap jump to get the suck by an out of bounds exploit. But reverse slide jumps are really difficult. They require frame perfect mashing. And on a slide this narrow, it's super difficult to keep the momentum facing in the upward slide direction. A lot of areas in this game that have First E jumps up of a slide with cruise boosting are not really viable for runs, more for IL strats. But first E's up a slide without cruise boosting is just doing normal one-frame jumps. You just press the A button when you touch the ground, the first frame you touch the ground. All right, let's get this. All right, I gotta adjust this up. Yeah, the glare. I can't really see what I'm going for here. It's really dark. This cruise boost is actually slow.
So he's going to bounce off this stem and try and catch this invisible ledge. And it's really rough because you have to, like, curve around. But
All right,
yeah,
there we go.
Good stuff. Yeah, that ledge is a little hard to hit. The actual platform.
If you saw, there was a little tiny, like, almost like a two-dimensional object I'm jumping on. It's super hard to jump on with the cruise boost active because you're constantly being pushed around. There it is.
Nice.
That's another thing with like security tunnel and all these dark areas. When you're playing on a monitor you're not used to, it's kind of hard to see some of the objects when like the super dark caves. But that's the hard part. Now we just gotta do. There's one more clip here, and funny enough, there actually is another area here that we can clip at it, but it's actually slow to do. There's like a whole sequence where you can go out of bounds here, outside the map, and get the crystal that's like out in the distance, but it's actually faster to reload and go through the gate.
nice.
So it is possible to get every single crystal in here without opening a single gate, which I just find hilarious because when I was a kid, this was one of the most annoying levels to do, with constantly going back to the bus stop to switch to Patrick. That's why one of those things is whenever I talk to somebody who really knows this game well, they're always like curious to see how this game is speedrun. I've even gotten some people say like, how can you possibly speedrun a game that has, like, it's such a collectathon. There are so many shiny objects and little tedious things you have to do, but this game is so broken that you can just skip all that stuff, and instead of just grinding for money the whole time, except for SBA, of course, we can just skip everything. So this is one of the uses of slow cruise boosting, where you only do one of those things and you capture your movement against, like, walking against the bridge, so it doesn't really give you much speed. And so here, we're going to use this slow cruise boost to get some downward momentum that's currently pushing me into the ground, and I'm going to use this to lag clip. All right, I got to change my angle a little bit. It's not really.
Wow.
Sometimes this doesn't really work because reasons.
Yeah, getting your console to
There
lag
we
is
go.
very.
There it is.
Oh!
Nice. Hit the frame
Nice.
after. Let's go.
Yeah, so for that little thing I just did there where I got the cruise bubble, normally I would have to watch a spatula animation there to continue moving on. But what I did there is I pressed the L button on the first frame that I respawned after that clip. And what happens with that is you can put out the cruise bubble the same frame the spatula animation comes out, so you can interrupt the animation. And so I can just keep running, and that saves like 5 seconds. So it's big if you're doing attempts, but for a marathon, it's more of like, damn, that's cool. Yeah, it's like, that's Kelp Forest for you. There are a lot of really small optimizations that are really hard to do. And when you pull them off, it feels really good. Now, to completely contrast that, the next segment, Sand Mountain and 100%, if you miss one of those tricks, you lose like half a minute, 2 minutes. So pretty much we're fingers crossed right now, and I'm probably the worst bowler in the history of speedrunners. Now we gotta go do that again. Nobody laughed at that? I'm so unfunny, holy crap.
I'm laughing at the fact that you're unfunny.
If Josh were here, I'm sure he'd be cracking the jokes. All right, so again, we're going to leave here. This is the area we left before Industrial Park. Got the warp. We're going to come back and do some cruise boost movement. You got to be really careful around here because cruise boosting maintains your gravity and your running speed and the bowling speed. So if you like slip off one of these ledges, you're just going to tank straight down, which is annoying, but it's also like it's good because it allows lag clipping to work. It's funny because cruise boosting was found in like 2014, but since then we understand so much more about how it works. It's become so much more useful.
Yeah, you just keep finding more uses for it. Like the lag
Nice.
clip, for example. It's you know, something like a completely different mechanic that, like, it's just crazy that was there the whole time.
Yeah, that trick on top, the jump on top of the ledge there is kind of precise. Now this trick is really just something else. This is one of the notorious run killers in most categories. It requires a lot of patience and precision.
Nice.
Wait,
Oh, it's going to be close.
okay, we got it.
That's
yes,
good. That's
let's
good.
go. Nice.
All right, so I know it's a buzzword, but there's only one frame where that works too. I'm just going to try to avoid saying frame perfect for the rest of the run. So those of you playing drinking games at home, don't die. But it's a one frame trick. I just get this, okay. So what you have to do there is press the L button, the L trigger and the B button on the same frame, on one specific frame that you're following through that little crevice there. And in addition to that, you have to also set it up correctly so you get the right angle to get enough speed so you can actually have the frame to hit. It's one of the crazy tricks that was found last year when L bowling was just discovered and being popularized. The funny thing about L bowling, though, is it was actually used, it was found in 2016, but it wasn't understood exactly what it was or how to reproduce it until 2018 when we started looking at a ballroom clip, which we'll see later. That trick there. And also a goo cage clip, which is obsolete to goo cage lag clip now. So unfortunately, we're not going to show that one off, but that was...
We're going to be pausing
yeah,
the
that
game
trick has
instead.
ruined a lot of my weeks. Speedrunning this game. A lot of the tricks in this game are very feel-based, and it's super difficult to pull off. This is one of the few areas where Sandy's still useful in the run. A lot of the Sandy segments in this game are just like, we spawn into Sandy because the game dictates that we spawn into Sandy, and then we have to switch off to Spongebob immediately. Now, that is kind of a Monka S right over there with the Chuck. Sometimes he spawns way too close to the edge of the icicle and fires way too early, so you're kind of at the mercy of him there. And if he hits you, you lose like a minute, so thankfully we avoided that. Yeah, the beginning of this run, I'm going to be honest here, the beginning of this run was kind of rough with those early game setup-based tricks, but my movement and late game one frame has been pretty much on point so far. So hopefully we get this Sandman 1 cycle here. Now for me, this game's lost a lot of its nostalgia value for me from speedrunning it for so long. I put around 6,000 hours in this game in the 3 years that I've been running it. But one of the areas that always had a special place in my heart was this one here with the Sandmen, where you got to hit the Sandmen and you hit 8 of them, you get the sock at the bottom of the slope. But now that nostalgia's gone, because this level has ruined my life.
Yeah, basically, there's 8 Sandmen, and they literally give you 1 sock. But casually, you'd have to go down this a minimum of 2 times to be able to even get all
what
the
I just did there
Sandmen.
was a timer stop tech where I use cruise boosting because, again, as I mentioned earlier, when you use a cruise boost, you're constantly moving. Even when you're not even controlling your character, you're constantly moving. So what I did there was I started the timer, and then I overlaid it with a different timer to confuse the game into going past the starting line with a cruise boost. And so since I activated the overlaid timer going past the starting line, now I had this 201 stop here where it's just not ticking. And the reason why this is important is because you saw there I was going out of bounds to go back on the track and hit the Sandman. And we're going to do this again here. We're going to go off-road and get this, the next Sandman after this one. So I'm going to do this, By the way, if you fall off at any point here, you're in big trouble. Went for the first C on the ground, didn't get it. All right, 5 of 8. So you see, this has a lot of out-of-bounds exploits in it. This is one of the bigger things that happened in 100% this year. As Ringo was talking about earlier, this is one of the categories that got a big, huge revolution in 2018 with a lot of new crazy tricks found. And Sandman 1 cycle is no exception. We're going to do a bunch of really cool things coming up after this next Sandman. The first thing we're going to do is a damage stop. Now, there's a very specific area on this ledge where if you get damaged, you can kind of just stop your slide momentum and jump back on the slide. Now, luckily for us, there's a Thunder Tiki right there. It's almost like the devs knew we were going to try to do this someday. Like most things in this game, it feels intentional because it just works out. Just goes to show, like, some of these things, a lot of really smart people have worked on finding them, and it's crazy how, like, they're so resourceful to use them to just make them work. But there's a damage stop. Okay.
Nice.
And
Nice.
Hey.
there we go. Yeehaw!
Yeah, that whole sequence is actually a lot more precise than it may look. A lot of bad things can happen there, and if you fall off the slide, you have to reload.
Oh, wait, the fish? Okay. I thought the fish was actually going to push me into the box. What I was going for there was to land right up against the box so I could just press A to jump in. And I got excited for a second. I thought the fish was going to push me around. Now, you may remember Murmulair is like one of the slower-paced walking segments with a lot of puzzles and mini-games that we got to do, but that's all part of the payoff, because now we're just going to do a lot of crazy movement to get the rest of these socks. Here's another one over here. There's a turret cycle that goes over the conveyor belts that we have to make. All right. We might be waiting. Same thing as the barrel thing. If you miss a cruise boost there, it's not really up to your movement to recover it. You just kind of wait. But I missed 2 cycles on that, so we're fine to not wait. All right, prawn skip. Here we go.
So this is going to be utilizing L clipping, like Jared was talking about. Just mash L through this wall and you're through. And then he's going to be hitting an invisible trigger that just ends this boss sequence.
Yep.
Yeah, these triggers are put in the game intentionally by the devs. They just were not deactivated because they didn't expect people to be able to go out of bounds and get them.
Yeah, there are a few boss fights that have triggers kind of hidden.
Hey.
Pretty solid Murmulair.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, ballroom clip. That one's kind of hard to get the timing for because the inputs are very... red and fat. The inputs are pretty similar to cruise boosting, but they're a little bit different, where you have to input the L trigger and the B button, the frame after you get your movement. So it kind of trips you up a little bit to have the muscle memory for both those tricks in your brain and be able to perform them both consistently. This is one thing that, like, whenever I talk to people who play this game casually, they could never figure out how to get this, because it's not obvious at all that you have to hit that. So if you're watching at home and you haven't played this game yet, by the way, you should. It's really good. It's like a solid 7 out of 10 game. 8 out of 10 if you like Spongebob. But if you play this game, just know that you got to hit that thing with the cruise bubble. It'll save you a lot of frustration. Now again, here we're going to actually abuse this scripted trampoline. Actually, this trick was found by Jared, who's on the commentary right now, where you use this, you re-script the trampoline by having cruise boost movement active. So whenever you have a cruise boost active, it just overwrites whatever place the trampoline was supposed to send you, and it just pushes you in the direction your cruise boost is going. So you do straight up, and you go right on top. And you use that to skip that whole area with the NPCs. All right. This area is also kind of funny too. Or this sock you normally have to go under the ship to get, you can just jump right here. Oh, okay. Sometimes that doesn't quite work, but it's all right. We get backups. You can just kind of get the sock to clip through the bottom. And this is very similar to the beginning of the run where we just jump into the bungee area, grab the spatula. My face is green because it's so bright. I just grab that, and now we can abuse the warping system to warp up here and skip the whole thing. All right, that was pretty close. That's... Yeah, you got one shot at that one.
Just standing on nothing here. Max Dank, yep.
Shout out to my boy Christopher. You're in our thoughts. Always.
X.
All right, that was okay.
Yeah, nice.
This part's a little bit tricky. All right. There we go.
Good cannons.
Now the hard part is coming up. It was a pretty new strat that I haven't had much time to lab, but I'm gonna go for it. And I found this kind of just like, all right, this might work, and then it works. It's actually possible to. It was already known that you could use the bouncing mechanics to bounce off the swingers because they're solid, but you can actually bounce off a swinger and reach the sock that's across on the robot ship. Now, it seems like it might be a trivial little time save, but it actually saves around like 4 or 5 seconds because you're saving the time it takes to jump down and turn all the way around to get it. And with cruise boosting, as you can see, like, because you're always being pushed forward, it's kind of a long procedure to turn around. Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Barely missed it, but
Saved.
I overshot it, so I'm able to recover it. But yeah, this is what you normally do. This skip is pretty similar to prawn skip, where we go out of bounds and touch the trigger that's above the boss fight here.
Yep, just cruise boost.
All right, there we go. This and
there it is.
Nice.
I forgot to play that we got your ship back. And defeated all the robots. Next time. We'll do that in...
PACE 2020?
Yeah, Pace or Smash and Splash, any of those. Oh, I almost walked off. Get in. David making his escape, circa 2019. Colorized. All right, let's get some classic movement here. I was doing this with EasyScape yesterday when he was making his next video. And when you see that, you're going to want to check out his channel. It's pretty funny. The circumstances I had to do this under were, it's like that classic clickbait. You won't believe it when you see this. Yeah, it's one of those things I can't really do when I'm talking. Probably should have focused more. I kind of deserve that for verbally clickbaiting you guys. But yeah, definitely give that a watch. It's going to be good. Another thing, too, is if you like what you've seen so far, this game has 7 different categories. Like different, if you're not familiar with speedrunning, different categories in speedruns are like different kinds of rule sets that you play the game to. So there's like any percent where you beat the game as quickly as possible. That's any percent autopilot I just did there. So I think as I said any percent in the back of my head. But yeah, there are different categories, different rule sets, and different criteria you have to meet. And this game has 7 different categories, and they all play differently, and they all have different types of tricks, and they all have different focuses. So it's a lot of fun to watch, and I recommend, like, first thing you should do, if you're interested in seeing more of this game, you can check out any percent no SBA run, maybe an NG plus run. Those are my 2 personal favorites. But yeah, we got one more fight to do, and then we skipped the last one, so let's get it. I'm gonna reload here to activate some invincibility frames.
Yeah, so he's just not going to get damaged when he gets
So yeah, he
attacked.
hits me there, yeah. It's not gonna do anything. Also, I should note, it wasn't mentioned already, this game has an Easter egg. I might actually lose my invincibility for that. This game has an Easter egg where if you set the date and time, oh my god, the camera. If you set the date and time to the 4th of July, you actually get this. You can see it more clearly if I can.
Some seasonal flames.
So, God bless America, boys. Let's finish this run. Yeah, all in all, this category has a lot of really hard, inconsistent tricks for a very long period of time. And even though like an hour and 25, hour and 30 minutes is, it seems like it's like between like the mid-range for runs, this game has a lot of gameplay. Like you're constantly doing stuff and there's almost no downtime. So doing all that, it's just constant trick after trick after trick. You know, it's nice just to be able to finish one of these runs on a stage.
For sure.
I should also mention, like, got to shout out the rest of the community that runs this game. When I started running this game in 2016, this game had 17 total players on speedrun.com, and I was one of 2 people who were actively playing it. And now, I think last year this game peaked around 400 runners and 65 active players, right into the top 3. And right now, it's kind of dying down a little bit because of like finals and midterms and stuff like school and whatnot for college. You have like that period for the semester where people are just getting their work done. But I'm sure over the summer there's going to be another renaissance for this game where everybody's just picking it up and learning the run. And if you have any interest in that, I have tutorials on my YouTube channel you can check out that explain everything. But enough talk. We got a giant square man mattress boy to defeat.
So once again, just going to be abusing the debug trigger right here.
All right, the classic.
The me.
That's how it's going to be.
The you.
That's classic Ringo Tongo. All right, there it is.
A Ringo Tongo classic.
Yeah.
Will SpongeBob be able to neutralize the giant robot's brain?
Time for some neurosurgery.
Yay.
Yeah, so this is not how this level is supposed to be played at all.
Yeah.
If you couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, you're basically just in his brain, you know, breaking
Doing
the
some
fuses.
clips, you know, some cool things.
Yeah.
Just being sick gamers, bro.
I'm going to say time and
Time.
time.
Solid run.
Who threw that?
Did somebody throw a crab at him for doing SBA?
Are you serious? That's not cool. That's messed
not
up.
cool.
That's
Ahoy,
actually messed
SpongeBob.
up.
I'm soaring across the venue after Hungry Box 1.
This is your reward for completing this game 100%. You get this cutscene. They probably made it in like 10 minutes. I mean, just look at it.
You guys know the words.
Yeah.
Ready? SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants.
Hey. There it is.
And we're done.
And that's Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Hope you boys enjoyed.
Once again, super shout out to Josh.